Hi, I'm Nikaylee, and this is the film review for the movie The Last Princess. So, the table of contents, we're going to start with film information, then go to the synopsis, then the historical background, and what I learned from the film. The director of the film is Jin Ho. He graduated from Yonsei University with a degree in philosophy and studied at the Korean Academy of Film Arts. He also directed some popular films and shows like Christmas in August, One Fine Spring Day, April Snow, and A Good Rain Knows. And he co-wrote the script of A Single Spark, which is a movie we watched in class. Some awards he was nominated for many awards, but he won Best Screenplay for Happiness at the 2007 Korean Association of Film Critics Awards. The Last Princess was released August 3rd, 2016 in South Korea, and the languages spoken in the movie are Korean and Japanese. The box office total of the movie was $39.3 million, and it was very popular during its release because during the weekend of its release, it was the number one movie, and it is based on the novel Princess Doke by Kwon Bin Bi-young. Princess Doke is the protagonist played by Son Ye-jin. Jang Han is her childhood best friend played by Hae-il Park. Bok-sun is her aide that travels with her to Japan, and that is played by Rami Ran. And Han Taek-so is the antagonist in the pro-Japanese general, and that is played by Yoo Jae-moon. The film begins with a young princess. Her father, Emperor Gojong, is poisoned by the Japanese, and Princess Doke is forced to go to school in Japan, and she is a ward of the Japanese occupation government. But after completing school, she is still trapped there because of the General Han Taek-so. The movie then shows her life living in Japan. She encounters her childhood best friend, who was a member of the Japanese army and also a member of the Korean independence movement, and he tries to help her return home to Korea, but their plan fails and she is forced to stay in Japan. She is then placed in an arranged marriage to Count So Tae-yuki, and she has a daughter. Later in life, she suffers from schizophrenia and lives in a care facility, almost forgotten as her husband divorces her and her daughter is disappeared and is presumed to have killed herself because of the divorce. The film then ends with Kim Jung-ha, her childhood best friend, finding her in a mental institution in old age, still not able to return to Korea. He helps convince the Korean government to let her return. She returns to Korea and is given a formal welcome from all of the court ladies who knew her as a child, including Bok-sun. And after she returned, she did not feel as if she were home because she had been away from Korea for so long. For some historical background, this film is capturing the Japanese occupation of Korea, which happened from 1910 to 1945, the death of Emperor Gojong, which means the end of the Joseon dynasty, which reigned Korea for over 500 years. It also captured the Korean independence movement, showing scenes of bombings and also meetings of Korean independence people, and also assimilation to Japanese culture, as when she returned to Korea for her mother's funeral, the princess had to wear a kimono, and she was also forced to have Japanese schooling and forced to marry a Japanese person. So the film's really capturing the Japanese aiming to erase Korean culture and assimilate Koreans to the Japanese culture. This was a really interesting film to watch, and I like how the film tried to show how the last princess of Korea felt living in a land that was unfamiliar and having to deal with the Japanese occupation of Korea. So what I learned from the film is about her life story, because I didn't know about the last princess of Korea, so it's interesting to learn how her life was basically tragic from beginning to end, of always wanting to go back to Korea but not being able to because of the political context. And I also learned how her mental state probably played a role in the historical context because she was placed in a mental institution for so many years. She was kind of like isolated from society and neglected and forgotten, even though she was royalty basically. So that was interesting to learn. And it was also interesting to learn the working conditions of Koreans working in Japan, because the film showed a few scenes of kids with like their fingers chopped off, and that the princess had to say something about it in a speech because it was just devastating to learn that how Koreans were being treated working in Japan and the effects of the Japanese occupation of Korea because of the Japanese occupation, so many Koreans were forced to leave. So that affected when they returned, as it did affect the princess. She didn't feel like she was home again when she returned because she'd been gone for so long. So that's what I learned.